Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
Virginia, what's going on, fam? What is going on? What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and this is not a distraction from that. I thought you should remember that. Now, early on Tuesday of this week, today's July 31st, there was a horrific attack in Danville, Virginia City, where Councilman Lee Vogler, 38 years old, was doused in gasoline and set on fire at the offices of Showcase magazine. That's where he worked. He was in a leadership position there. When things like this happen, YouTube, everyone wants to be first. Everyone wants to come out and tell you what they think happened. We decided to go through the news, go through all the different publications, and so that you can see for yourself the different sides of it. What do you say? Let's do this. Now, witnesses said the attacker, now identified as 29-year-old Shotzi Michael Buck Hayes, forced his way into the offices carrying a 5-gallon bucket of gasoline, people, and then dumped it on Vogler, who had to run from the building, and then the suspect followed him out and managed to light him ablaze. A fire. The Human Torch-like. What's going on, Virginia? Who does that? That seems overly aggressive. That seems angry. That seems personal. I gotta be honest with you. Anyway, Vogler was airlifted to the UNC Burn Center in Lynchburg, where he was awake and talking and named the man who attacked him. Thank God for that. Based on the investigation, the two knew each other, and it was a personal dispute. Immediately, you know what the thoughts are. Who was effing who? That's the first thing I thought. I know it's the first thing you think. So we have to refrain from that. But I want you to get all the sides so that you too can understand what happened and be discerning. Let's go to the Washington Post here. J. Lee Vogler, GOP, is one of 9 council members in Danville, a city of about 42,000 people on Virginia's border with North Carolina, about 150 miles southwest of Richmond. He is also the managing partner of Andrew Brooks Media Groups, which is the people who own Showcase Magazine. We're going to look at Showcase Magazine, see what we can see just about their publication, who they are, and what they're about. Does it mean that the shooter has anything to do with that? No, it means you have context. That's all. Suspect was taken into custody after a traffic stop and charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated malicious wounding. He's currently in the Danville City Jail under no bond for attempted murder and malicious wounding. The Young Republicans of Virginia condemned the act and urged prayers for his recovery. I agree with that. ABC News. Let's just go to it.
Disturbing headline from Danville, Virginia. A city councilman intentionally doused with flammable liquid and set on fire. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, a horrific crime in broad daylight. A city councilman from Danville, Virginia, doused with gasoline and set on fire.
What's up, guys? It's Lee Vogler.
Councilman Lee Vogler confronted inside the office of a local magazine where he also worked.
An individual forced his way into our office carrying a 5-gallon bucket of gasoline and poured the gasoline on Lee. Lee attempted to flee, ran to the front of the building. The individual followed him and set him on fire.
Vogler, elected in 2012, then the youngest member of the city council.
As you guys know, for 13 years, I've never missed a meeting.
Tonight, witnesses say that before the councilman was airlifted to a North Carolina hospital, he identified his attacker as 29-year-old Shotzi Buck Hayes. Police arrested Buck Hayes after he allegedly fled the scene. Authorities say the suspect's motive involves a personal matter not related to the victim's position on Danville City Council or any other political affiliation.
What'd you see there? What I saw there was something very important at the end. No, this was not related to any political affiliation. Why? Why is that important? Because of the climate we live in. To not talk about it, to not act like, or to act like that's not a gigantic portion of the story that needs to be known, will let you know who's bullshitting you, YouTube, who's both sidesing life. And on the other hand, in 2020, 14 men were arrested in connection with a domestic terrorism plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and overthrow the state's government. Last year, Donald Trump survived 2 assassination attempts while he was campaigning for president. In April, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, his home was firebombed by a man who disagreed with his views of the war on Gaza. And last month, former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated in what authorities described as a politically motivated attack. Anyone who's not giving that disclaimer, this is a personal issue, is purposefully lying to you or hiding context on purpose. Just remember that. I just thought that was important. Now, all right, according to ABC, Vogler has been serving in the Danville City's council since being elected in January 2025. Shotzi Michael Hayes, who set Lee Vogler on fire, had divorced his wife 2 weeks earlier. Now that is written so poorly. Was it 2 weeks before he set him on fire or 2 weeks before he was elected? I think that was done on purpose. Here's another one. Cardinal News. Reading, a Danville native, Vogler was the youngest person to be elected to city council back in 2012, when he was just 24 years old, and has been re-elected every 4 years. That wasn't in ABC's either, even though I can't with them. Now he's 38 and he had a big presence in a small city as a consistent champion of Danville's economic resurgence. Vogler served on various local boards and committees and is an engaged member of the community and is known for reaching across the political aisle. Oh, and by the way, this guy Vogler seemed to be one of the absolute best Republican politicians I've seen in years. I mean, take a look at some of his positions here. He tried to establish a bike share program in Danville. He voted to lower personal property taxes in order to recruit businesses to the area. I'm not sure how much I like that, but he's trying. He seems to care about the climate. He seems to care about practical solutions to saving money for regular people. This is strange. I don't know what that means, but real quick, before we end, I want to show you a little bit about Showcase magazine. Here's just a few of the headlines. You can see it for yourself. Honoring Disability Pride Month. Changing lives one community at a time. Carry a light and you need not fear the darkness. New school field exploring the economic revitalization of the historic Schoolfield district. In other words, it's about art, coming together, community, DEI. And this guy was not in charge of this magazine. He was in charge of the media group that has this magazine, Showcase. I found it interesting. If I have more news, I'll bring it to you. But I thought that these bits of context, the aggregate of what everyone's been talking about, may have been missing all day long. And so I wanted to give you that. If you find some joy out of that, or if you find something interesting, leave it in the comment. Let us know what you're thinking. I know what I'm thinking, but I'm not going to say it completely yet. I think you know that I know. Yeah. That divorce is funny. It's strange. It is a personal matter. But also, this guy is not your average Republican. And that's what makes it even more kind of ridiculous here, is because wherever there even is a good one, you can't erase them. They're so few and far between. This city has reelected that guy, 4 times, 3 times. since 2012. Yeah. I'm going to leave you with some other news from the Cardinal News. In 2017, the Virginia chapter of the American Planning Association recognized him as Virginia Local Legislator of the Year. In 2022, Governor Glenn Youngkin appointed Vogler to the Virginia Small Business Commission. Besides his role with the city as a council member and the chairman of the Danville, Pennsylvania, P-I-T-T, Sylvania, honestly. Anyway, Pennsylvania County Regional Industrial Facilities Authority. The councilman was very involved in the community. He oversaw portfolio rehabilitation projects across the county. The point is, people, he looked like he was a good guy. Even though he was a GOP and a Republican, it looked like they found the only decent Republican to burn. And that truly is sad. Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Ground News has very quickly become one of my most prized resources, my go-to even, because I get to find out what stories are not covered by the blind spot feature, which I love. But not just the blind spot feature. Any of these stories that I bring up, I can see what either side is saying about it. I can also see who's paying for those headlines. It tells me who owns the publication, which also lets me know who they're writing it for. Many times, none of that is for us. But understanding the context helps us understand the story. Ground News is absolutely one of, if not the best way to know that you've gotten every side of a story and that there's not enough spin in the world that can have you misinterpret it. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.